Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to what a delight. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Richmond. Not just any Universalist church, but of Richmond. My name is Carol Dunlap, and it's my honor to welcome you this morning and to serve on your board of directors. For those who are new to us and those who are returning to us, welcome from far and near. We're so grateful to be able to connect with you this morning. Since 1833, we have been a community of many faith journeys and beliefs committed to being deliberately diverse and fully inclusive. You are welcome here. We are a community that is resilient and committed to healing, does the work that needs to be done, and commits to maintaining and establishing our relationships with one another and in our community. Let us continue to stand together on the side of love. For more information about First UU, you can visit our website at richmonduu.org. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to see past services and future, and log into our services for those of you who are joining us remotely 5 to 10 minutes early to catch the preceding announcements. You can also sneak in here 10 minutes early and see them on the slides. We also invite you to join us for coffee between the two services. Thank you for being with us today. May we be connected during a time of peace, healing, and inspiration. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kirstin Fritz, and I am your new ministerial intern. And thank you. And we like to start things off by welcoming our visitors. So if you are visiting today for the first or second time and you feel comfortable doing so, please raise your hand. Jamie will bring a mic around, and we ask that you say your name and tell us where you're visiting from.
Corey Chadman, Petersburg. Jim Grady, Charlottesville.
Lydia Grady, also Charlottesville. We are Kirstin's family.
Pass that down. Hi, I'm Scott from here in Richmond.
So many today, yay. Good morning.
I'm Edward from downtown Richmond.
Morning, Sami Wada from Bellingham, Washington.
Good morning. Many of you know me, Rick Carr. I want to introduce you to a man I met at a Juneteenth event. We stopped there, a friend of mine, on a way to a men's group here, and this man sat down next to me, and we started talking, and I realized I had just read a book about him. He's here to speak today at 12:30, Mr. Clarence McGill.
Hello, I'm Clarence McGill, and I live around the corner.
Anyone else?
I think we are.
Well, welcome all of you. Let's take a few minutes to greet our neighbor. Come in from the crisp morning air outside. Come in wearing the autumn sunlight on your face. Come carrying the turning of the seasons in your heart. Whatever and however the greatness of life is speaking to you now, you are welcome here in this circle of friends.
Our chalice lighting for this morning, A Spark of Hope by Melanie Davis. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice.
Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, Wake Now My Senses.
Our reading this morning is by the Reverend Dr. Megan Foley, The Call. What is this thing known as a calling anyway? What is a call, really? Is it a way of matching your skills to the job market? Can you find it in an employment guide? Is it a multiple choice test that tells you what type you are? And will you find others just like you from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday? Is that where you find your calling? Is a calling a feeling of joy, a completeness of your work? Is it what Karl Marx thought we lacked when he said, "We are alienated from our labor"? Is a calling a way of saying, this is part of me, this thing I've created, this thing you see here? Is it a way of seeing me? Is a calling straight from the cherubim and seraphim? Is it burnt lips and angels singing? Is it a direct command and your expected obedience? Is it a voice in the night, a whisper through the dark, so compelling that you eventually find yourself saying, "Here I am, send me"? Or is your calling the work of 1,000 arrows of your life? The arrows that point to your hometown and your family. The ones that point you to your education and that weird summer job. The ones that point to the greatest weaknesses or your greatest strength. The one that points to the darkest moment of your life. And the one that points to at your most profound joy. All of these are your arrows, coming together in a way you never thought possible, coming together to point at a path you never saw before, a path suddenly flooded with light, a path suddenly garnered with your name.
Today's meditation reading is The Chalice of Our Being by Richard S. Gilbert. Each morning, we hold out the chalice of our being to be filled with the graces of life that abound. The air to breathe, food to eat, companions to love, beauty to behold, art to cherish, and causes to serve. They come in ritual procession, these gifts of life. Whether we deserve them or not, we cannot say, for they are poured out for us. Our task is to hold steady the chalice of our being. We carry the chalice with us as we go, either meandering aimlessly or with a destination in our eye. We share its abundance, if we have any sense, reminding others as we remind ourselves of the contents of the chalice we don't deserve. Water from living streams fills it, only if we can hold it out faithfully. We give back, if we can, something of ourselves, some love, some beauty, some grace, some gift. We give back in gratitude, if we can. Something like what is poured into our chalice of being for those who abide with us and those who will follow. Each morning, we hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give. We're going to take a few moments for silent meditation.
Good morning, I'm Joel Blum, and I'm here to talk to you about the Share the Plate recipient for the month of November, which is Circles RVA. Its vision is that everyone has enough money, meaning, and friends to thrive. Circles RVA is now in its 6th year as the local chapter of Circles USA, and I've been actively participating with this local chapter for the past 4 years. The Circles model creates 3-person groups called matched circles, with each matched circle consisting of a client who's called the leader, who's economically challenged and motivated to make changes. The rest of the matched circle includes 2 support members from the community who are called allies. The leader develops goals, and the allies support and hold the leader accountable for 18 months to work on achieving these goals. These matched circles are supported by staff and a range of resource teams. There are meetings each week and a community meal provided and planned programming at these meetings. Circles RVA has another major focus, which is to identify systemic barriers in the community that hinder people from improving their circumstances, and then to engage the wider community in efforts to reduce or eliminate these economic barriers. Many circle leaders have made significant progress through their participation in the program, including improving their work situations, increasing their incomes, furthering their education, obtaining additional training and certifications, starting businesses, and even purchasing homes. Leaders also have expanded the support resources available to them in the community, which is called social capital. In addition to working with leaders, Circles provides programming for leaders' family, including a children's program. Circles RVA certainly reflects our UU values in action. Please contribute generously, and your donations will be most graciously received. Thank you.
So as I mentioned before, my name is Kirstin Fritz. I'm your new ministerial intern, and this is my first Sunday in the pulpit here at First UU. So I was told to use today's sermon to introduce myself. I'm going to talk about 3 things. Who am I? Just a little bit, just the basics, no existential angst, I promise. How I got here to First UU, and what I'll be doing while I'm here. So, who am I? I am 5 feet 5 inches tall with pale skin, and I wear clear-colored glasses. My shoulder-length hair is straight and brown, and I have a gray streak on one side. I'm wearing a dark blue dress with bright blue and green designs on it. I am neurodivergent, cisgendered female in my mid-40s with a disability, and I use she, her pronouns. I grew up in St. Augustine, Florida, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. I went to undergrad in Hickory, North Carolina, at Lenoir-Rhyne. It's now called a university. It was just a college when I went there. And that is where I met Paul, my spouse for the last 23 years. We have 2 kids. Xander is 13 and Gideon is 10. We also have a part lab, part chow, part terrier, part who knows dog named Luna. We live on the western edge of Louisa County near Zion Crossroads, and we are members of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville. I consider myself a serial hobbyist, and that just means that I like to try a lot of new hobbies, but I really only have enough energy for one at a time, so I just do lots of different ones in order. In the past, I've been into origami and fountain pens and Nia and crocheting stuffed animals for my nephews. Most recently, I'm really focused on journaling and knitting and gardening when I have time. I grow mostly vegetables. Flowers are too confusing. How did I get here to this pulpit this morning is a bit of a longer story. I've always been a spiritual person, deeply connected to and curious about the religious impulse. As a child, I made up prayers and sang them to the trees in my backyard. In middle school, I began studying the Bible on my own. In high school, I started in lunch group where all the kids from different religious backgrounds got together and talked about religion. I was raised in the Southern Baptist tradition, and the church was really the center of our lives and our community. However, I was very concerned about who was saved and who wasn't saved, according to my childhood tradition. I really struggled with the concept of hell. It didn't feel like the loving God that I knew. When I was in the 8th grade, my father got a Park Service job in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we lived downtown in Viejo San Juan, where, as far as I could tell, we were the only non-Puerto Rican, non-Spanish-speaking family in the neighborhood. I had the very disorienting experience of being a visible part of the colonizing minority. I loved living in Puerto Rico. Although we were only there for 5 years, it fundamentally changed our family culture. It changed what we eat, the languages we speak in our home, the music we listen to, and how we celebrate. I left Puerto Rico to go to college, where I met my spouse. Paul is a liberal Lutheran minister's son who constantly challenged my conservative beliefs. Obviously, he was very good at it because I am standing here today. We got married a week after we graduated from college and moved to Nashville, where I was enrolled in a graduate program in comparative literature at Vanderbilt. In grad school, I realized that I really missed having the community of a church, but I wasn't sure what kind of church would be the right fit for me. I had a classmate who I was talking to this about, and she said, well, my grandfather is a Quaker, and my grandmother is a Unitarian. I think you would like those. You should check them out. So I went to the Quakers for several Sundays, and I fell asleep every Sunday. Silence is not really a great thing for me, although I liked their message very much. So I went and tried the First Unitarian Universalist Church in Nashville, and I wept through the entire service. All it took was reading the back of the bulletin. We used to have them on paper back in those days. And I read the 7 principles, it was 7 then, they're 8 now, which were our value statements. And I knew that I had found the spiritual home of my heart. It was also my first experience having a female minister. In the tradition of my childhood, women are not allowed to preach. So that wasn't even a thing that I knew was possible in the world until then. I joined the church in 2004. My first few weeks here at First UU, I was asked during coffee hour why I converted from Southern Baptist to Unitarian Universalism? And it was an interesting question. I had to stop and really think about it. And what I realized was that I never intentionally converted. I became a Unitarian Universalist because I had found a faith tradition that matched the values in my heart. Around Easter time in 2004, I sat in the pews in Nashville listening to Reverend Mary Catherine Bourne preach, and I heard a voice say, "This is what you're supposed to do with your life." And I had to stop and think about that. And I was like, this? What, ministry? Like, would I have to go back to school? Would I have to figure out what to do? I would have to have something to say when I stood up in front of groups of people every week. That sounds terrifying. And I decided I was not, I'm like, that's just impossible. That's an impossible thing. It was a truth so big, like my whole body knew that it was true. But I was so scared I didn't even tell my husband. Later that year, Paul got a job in Virginia, and I left Vanderbilt without completing my comprehensive exams or my dissertation. After we moved, I worked in retail for a while, several Barnes & Nobles here in the Richmond area, and then I got a job working in marketing at Pamplin Historical Park and the National Museum of the Civil War Soldier, it's a mouthful, in Petersburg. I liked using my writing skills for marketing, but I really enjoyed getting to start their membership program for that museum, because then I was focused on building relationships with people, building programs around a specific group of people. And I decided maybe fund development or fundraising would be a better fit for me. In 2005, Paul came to UU Church with me for the first time. It was the church in Glen Allen, in fact. And after the service, we got in the car, we're starting to drive away, and he says, while I was listening to the preacher, I thought, this is what Kirstin should do with her life. And I burst into tears. I was like, I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid that I'd have to go back to school and it's really expensive, and you're a minister's son, and I didn't think you'd want to be a minister's husband. And he told me, he's like, well, I feel like I am better prepared to be a minister's spouse than most people because I kind of know the job description already. And we looked into me going to seminary. There are only 2 Unitarian Universalist seminaries, one in Berkeley, California, and one's in Chicago. And it was just logistically and financially impossible at that time. So I thought I would get more deeply involved in my church, and maybe being a lay leader would help scratch that ministerial itch, so to speak. In 2007, we moved to Charlottesville, Virginia, and my husband actually joined my UU church for the first time. I became a leader in the church, seeing those activities as ways to prepare myself for the ministry I thought I might do eventually someday. I was a worship associate, a choir member, I was on the leadership development committee, and I served on a ministerial search committee. I also started a job as the development system at the Thomas Jefferson Foundation, which is Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home. I took over institutional fundraising and grant writing, and then every time a team member left, I did their job for a few months until they could hire someone else. And I eventually had done all of the jobs in the department, and I decided what I really wanted was to go and have more responsibility at a smaller nonprofit, preferably one that actually did things for human beings. I like history, but I really like humans better. I got a job as the first development director at the nationally award-winning Senior Center in Charlottesville. It is it's kind of like a boys and girls club for active older adults, and it's now called the Center at Belvedere. At the center, we encourage seniors to engage in the 7 dimensions of wellness, so physical, social, intellectual, emotional, environmental, spiritual, and vocational. And this work felt like an opportunity to incorporate ministry into my life, into my day job. Another thought-provoking question I've gotten from one of you here at First UU was why I decided to leave fundraising to become a minister. And for me, the call to the ministry came first. So going from nonprofit marketing to fundraising felt like I was moving closer to ministry, because philanthropy is about building relationships with people. It's about helping people connect their values to their generosity in the world. In 2011, I once again explored the idea of following my call and going to seminary. I even audited a class at Meeville Lombard Theological School in Chicago. But then a difficult pregnancy and infancy with my second son made that logistically impossible. In 2013, I fell and I hit my head on a tile floor. The subsequent concussion significantly worsened an undiagnosed condition I had had since I was a teenager. It was narcolepsy with cataplexy. Narcolepsy is a neurological sleep disorder caused by the brain's inability to regulate the sleep-wake cycle. It's a lifelong medical disability protected under the Americans with Disability Act. It took over 2 years of debilitating symptoms before I was diagnosed, and several more years before I could function like semi-normally. I continued to work full-time during those difficult years, so I slept anytime I wasn't helping to care for my young family. And we had to drop church. I just didn't have the energy to go for about 7 years. Once I had a diagnosis, though, I had to learn how to be a person with a chronic health condition, how to take care of myself, how to explain my condition to others, how to advocate for the accommodations that I needed at work, how to find the tools and strategies that help me manage the executive function challenges that were caused by my condition. These experiences made me more aware of the many ways individual brains perceive and move through the world differently. They made me more committed to giving people the benefit of the doubt, because there have been so many times in my life when I've been judged harshly by people who didn't know the full story. So I try to remember that we never know the whole story, and that every person is more complex than they appear. Today, I have to be vigilant about self-care, but otherwise I live like any other person with a chronic health condition like epilepsy or diabetes. Most of the time, I don't exhibit any obvious symptoms. However, I am very open about my condition because when I do have symptoms, they can look dramatic. Fatigue and strong emotions can increase my episodes of cataplexy. So cataplexy is a sudden loss of voluntary muscle tone or a temporary paralysis. If something emotional or funny happens, I'm probably going to sit down really fast. If the music's getting really good in the sanctuary, when everybody stands up to clap, I'm going to sit down to clap just for safety reasons. So you might see things like my eyelids might flutter, the muscles in my face might spasm, and it might look like I'm grimacing. Please know, that's not commentary. I just don't always have control over all of the muscles in my face. And you may see my head drop or my speech slow down and become slow, or I may not be able to move or speak for a few seconds or even a few minutes. I am telling you this because I don't want you to be worried about me. Please know that I am all right, and I am conscious. I can hear you, and I know what's happening around me. I'm just not able to respond. So please just continue doing whatever you were doing, and I will rejoin you as soon as I am able. My husband calls it rebooting. That's how he explains it to my kids. Mom's rebooting, give her a few minutes, and she'll be back online. In the fall of 2019, a new medication came on the market that significantly improved my quality of life, and I finally had the bandwidth to think about things other than my physical health. We had just started going back to church when the pandemic hit. But we still found that we were in a place financially, physically, logistically, where I could start seminary part-time. So I left my full-time job at the Senior Center and started working part-time as a fundraising consultant and grant writer so I could go to school part-time. I started seminary at Meadville in August 2020, and Meadville's Masters of Divinity program requires a 2-year part-time internship, either in a congregation or in a community setting. First UU was my first choice for an internship site. This church is much larger and more urban than the churches that I have been a part of in the past, so it is an excellent learning environment for me. I'm also very, very grateful to be here, both to you and to my spouse and family who helped me figure all that out over those many, many years. So third, what will I be doing while I'm here at First UU? I will be your part-time ministerial intern until June 2025, while I continue to take classes with Meadville Lombard. I work mostly Tuesdays and Wednesdays, or Wednesdays and Thursdays, and of course Sunday morning. So if you're ever looking for me, those are the days when I'm around. I'm specifically training to be a parish or congregational minister. That's where I believe my calling lies. To make sure that interns get a well-rounded educational experience, the Unitarian Universalist Association requires that we do tasks in 7 competency areas. And those are worship, pastoral care, spiritual development, administration, social justice, serving the larger Unitarian Universalist faith, and leading the faith into the future. So, for example, I'll be preaching once a quarter and leading monthly Vespers as part of the worship competency. And I recently worked with Reverend Amy to start a caregiver support group as part of the pastoral care competency area. Reverend Sherman and I have made a plan that has a little bit of everything in it for the next 2 years, but that's really just kind of like the bare bones of the plan. Things will unfold and develop as we go. As of today, I have officially been here 2 months, and I have been amazed by the sheer number of things happening in this community. You guys are busy. And I want to thank you for your warm welcome and your commitment to my education. So I've told you a little bit about me, the longer story of how I came here, and a little bit about what I'll be working on in the next 2 years. I'm looking forward to learning more about you, learning what brought you here, what keeps you here, and I'm excited to see what will unfold in the work that we're going to do together. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirstin. We are so glad you are here. All of us, lay and clergy, share the leadership and ministry of our church, the promises by which we grow, care, and act together. Our community has taken on the ministry of being a teaching congregation. We have volunteered to guide ministry students in their internships and encourage them on their way to fellowship as ministers of Unitarian Universalism.
It is the custom of this church to mark the occasion of one's journey to ministry by vesting students with a minister robe as a symbol of their new role. Today, we mark the beginning of a journey. Kirstin Fritz is with us to serve as an intern minister.
In Jewish, Buddhist, Islam, and Christian traditions, the robe has been a symbol of the commitment of our faith. It is a public signal of the willingness to serve the greater good.
In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, the clergy robe or pulpit gown It's worn on the occasions of weddings, memorials, child welcoming, ordination, and congregational installation of ministers. And sometimes it is worn in preaching during the service of the congregation.
Ordained ministry is but one of the many valued roles in our church, but it is one that requires serious and extensive study, practice, and reflection. Not all who begin this journey will complete it, for the ministry asks much, and it is not for all.
In our faith tradition, the tradition of learning within the life of our congregation points to the importance of our commitment to walk together, minister and laity in conducting the ministry of this church.
Kirstin, we recognize your commitment and desire to seek and explore ministry in the Unitarian Universalist tradition. We know it is a demanding journey, and we're grateful for those who take up its call. As your teaching congregation, we support you in this path of discovery. If you could all read with me. Each of us is unique, come to this community by different paths. We celebrate that within the diversity of our gifts lies a greater strength to do good in this world. The robe is the symbol of our aspiration for a learned and wise ordained clergy, that truth may be spoken both here and in the public square. Symbol of prophetic leadership and the ability to respond to the insights of all, that we might better serve our commitment to compassion, justice, and peace. The robe is the symbol of pastoral care and the practice of compassionate presence, that those who are suffering in need may be sustained and consoled. The robe is a symbol of the practice of radical hospitality and the creation of the beloved community we hope to build day by day. As a teaching congregation, we would have you stretch yourself, take risks which may enhance your skills, raise a prophetic voice when it rises in heart and mind. We wish to provide a place to let your ministry come alive and to do so with us in the tradition of our shared leadership. We choose to be a teaching congregation so that you may have a safe space to learn. You will stretch and try new things, and you will experience some failure. Yet we encourage you to undertake this learning among us and know we will foster your growth as a minister for the good of our faith. And if, in this journey, you should discover that the ordained ministry is not the role you should seek, then we will embrace you in this community, grateful for who you are among us.
This ritual of investiture signals both the seriousness and importance of the process you undertake. It signals that your relationship to this congregation is one of leadership and commitment. It signals that each of us must make room for you to grow into a role of minister. Your relationship must change to live and grow in a loving service to this faith. May it be cheerful and generous service. Congregation, may it be a time for you to learn a joyful learning.
May it be a faithful and committed service.
May it lead to a long and fruitful ministry. Kirstin, on this journey, let this robe enfold you in love and support of this congregation.
I begin this internship seeking wisdom that I may lead with wisdom and compassion, building community so that I might share the ministry of our faith. with a commitment to service, that working together, justice may prevail. I accept this robe as a symbol of the ministerial journey I now undertake and of your love and support.
All of you who do ministry in this congregation be blessed and loved and support. May all who do the ministry of this faith be blessed with love and support. May all who bring peace and compassion in this world be blessed and loved and support. May our community support them all. May this be so. Amen. Ashe.
Good morning, y'all. So last week I actually had a day off, and I was bored kicking around my house without my kids, and I pulled out this little toy down here on the floor. It is a looping pedal, and I'm explaining this to you because I don't want it to distract you. So basically what's going to happen is I'm going to sing a piece of music entitled Hope by Yisei Barnwell, and she arranged it for choir, but it's 8 different voice parts, and there's only one of me. So this little toy is going to record little snippets and like layer them on top of each other. I'm probably not going to get through all 8 voices. I think I got like 4 in the first service before I chickened out. But we'll see what happens. Oh, and if the tech betrays me, please, we'll all party together. I don't know. But hopefully it'll work. All right. This is Hope by Yisei Barnwell. If we want hope to survive in the world today, then every day we've got to pray on, pray on. If we want hope to survive in the world today, then every day we've got to pray on. We've got to pray on, 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 we've got to pray. If we want peace in the world, we've got to pray on, pray on, pray on. If we want peace in the world, we've got to pray on, pray on, pray on. If we want peace in the world, to pray, pray on, got to pray on, pray on, pray on. If we want peace in the world, got to pray, pray on, got to pray on, pray on, pray on. If we want peace in the world, got to pray, pray on, got to pray on, pray on, pray on. Pray on, we want peace in the world. To pray, pray on, got to pray on, pray on. We want hope to survive in the world today. And every day we've got to teach on, teach on. We want hope to survive in the world today. And every day we've got to teach on, pray on. We want hope to survive in the world today. And every day we've got to sing on, sing on. We want hope to survive in the world today. And every day we've got to sing on, pray on. We want hope to survive in the world today. Then every day we've got to work on if we want hope to survive in the world today. Then every day we've got to work on hope to survive. Peace in the world to keep on to pray on. Peace in the world to pray on. To pray on. We want hope to survive in the world today. And every day we've got to sing on. We want hope to survive in the world today. And every day we've got to pray on. We want hope to survive in the world today. Then every day we've got to pray on if we want hope to survive in the world today. Then every day we've got to keep on.
Thank you, Jamie. It Becomes More by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less. It becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, we take this light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and by sharing it with the world.
Share Your Glorious Light with the World by James Morrison. Within each of our hearts, there is a most glorious light. Go forth and let its spark help you understand what troubles both you and others. Go forth and let its light of reason be a guide in your decisions. Go forth and bring its ray of hope to those in need of help in both body and spirit, that they might find healing. Go forth and fan the flames of passion to help heal our world. Go forth and spread the warm glow of love, pushing back the darkness of the world. Go forth and share your glorious light with the world. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, When the Spirit Says Do.